and we are recording. Once again, good morning or good afternoon, depending on the time you're listening to this recording, and welcome to our joint webinar. AWS and Trianz, our partner, are going to be talking about AI agents and how AI agents can transform claims processing, right? So we're going to have 1 hour and a half. We're going to cover a good overview of what's happening in financial services and insurance in particular, to talk about this particular opportunity with one use case, but we're going to have a conversation about more use cases that AI agents to have. My name is Rodrigo Gazanel, and I'm on the AWS Specialist Organization, and I'm joined today by my colleagues. Why don't you come up and say hi, say your names? You're all going to be speaking later. Deepak, let's go.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Good morning. Good afternoon. My name is Deepak Singh. I'm a solutions architect based out of New York metro area, and thanks for joining us today.
Awesome. Sridhar.
Hi, my name is Sridhar Kannan. Today, joining this call from London, but normally based out of Minneapolis. I lead the solutions architecture and data digital capabilities for Trianz.
Awesome. Yassin.
My name is Yassin Mohammed. I'm from Trianz, working as principal architect for AI practice. I'm from Australia. Thank you.
Awesome. So 2 quick notes before we begin. The first one, a reminder, we're recording the session. You're going to have access to the recording, and you're going to have access to the slide decks that we're going to share, right? The second one is that we're going to have time for a live Q&A in the end. But if you have questions or if you're curious about anything, you're welcome to use the chat. We are going to be monitoring and trying to keep up with their questions. And then, of course, in the end, we're going to make sure all your questions are covered. So without further ado, because we have a lot to cover, let's begin. So why we are here? We are here to talk about opportunities for transforming financial services and insurance in particular with the power of AI. I'm going to invite our partner, Trianz, to introduce themselves and talk about the work that they have been doing in this industry already. And then we're going to come back and talk a little about the solutions and the technologies that are, the bricks, that are the tools that can help you be successful in this space with these many use cases. And finally, I'm going to pass the ball again to Trianz, that they're going to demonstrate one solution they built that was awarded by AWS. We are going to talk about this, right? And we're going to wrap with a conversation about how we take this to practice, however you want to bring it to practice. Do you want to build it? Do you want to have a turnkey solution? Do you want to have a partnership involved, right? We're going to talk about the many ways we can achieve success together. So let's begin. Let's talk about the opportunities in financial services and insurance. And the first thing I want to say is that I've been working with financial services, focus in financial services here on AWS for the last 2 years and a half. And I have to say that when it comes to AI, I think it's one of the industry that have embraced the opportunities faster, right? And for a market that, many would say, oh, we are highly regulated. Hey, we have, to be careful with adoption, right? I have to say that the success stories are many, plentiful, and amazing. So the good news is that AI is making a difference in the industry. Success is happening already. We see many use cases here, and the pattern that you see is that all of these success stories were presented in our last global event, AWS reInvent. So we had, of course, companies like, Coinbase and Robinhood that are cloud native, but we also had, Principal Financial and Fidelity, right, and Experian, right? There are companies in constant evolution. So innovation is everywhere in the financial services industry. And it is delivering tremendous value, like we are saying, to the point that we start here in February, early February, excited about, the outlook of 2026. Maybe 2026 is going to be the year that agentic AI will create scale transformation in financial services, right? Because, according to analysts and partners, right, AI is delivered increased profit when successful, right? Of course, there is this whole discussion about the need for experimentation and the many POCs that are challenging and may not get into production. So we're going to discuss how AWS can help you increase your success rates, right? But definitely, when successful, when deployed, AI has the power to increase profitability and help organizations achieve greater efficiency, right? But 30% increased development efficiency is a common use case that you see um, for internal efficiencies. Another critical aspect and benefit of AI adoption is, improving risk mitigation and fraud detection is another great use case, right? With $1 billion at stake and only accelerating. And another pattern that we see is that, these first use cases that are delivering success, they are already impacting customer servicing, right? Lead origination, internal productivity in technology, and in analysis and financial services understanding, right? But we have a next frontier, right? We have a next frontier, which is business process automation. And we are super excited to reapply the learnings that we're seeing from the first success use cases into success at scale and total business transformation. Now, looking at the insurance value chain in particular, there are many opportunities for applying AI, right? We can talk, about the power of AI for internal product development, right? Because of the understanding and intelligence that can be associated through all the ideation to creation, right? We can talk about the impact and benefit that it can provide for marketing and sales because of the better end-to-end understanding and the use of agents for automation, right? We can talk about, improving the underwriting process, right? Because the complexity of these workflows can be uh, tackled by automation with agents, but always respecting the need for validation and verification, right? So we are going to see through the solutions and demos that we build that while many tasks can be automated, right, we also understand where today we need a human validation. Claims management, customer support, right? Another area that is rich for potential improvements. A lot of potential for intelligent process automation. Document understanding, extraction, and classification is one of the areas where we see the generative AI and agentic AI helping at scale already. So if you're not investigating how these solutions could help you, right, that's a good starting point today with lots of success stories. Risk management we talked about, but also the business operations, right? System integrations, code modernization. So across the entire financial services and in particular the insurance business, there are plenty of opportunities of applying AI for greater efficiency and greater profitability. And we are starting to see, of course, like I said, first winners, right? So I put here a win story, a success story, right, with a large and successful insurance company, Athene, right, where AI agents were applied for optimizing labor-intensive hours in their own internal productivity, in their own development, simplifying documentation, and it returned into hours gained of efficiency that helped tackle and reduce the backlog of activities, right? Actually accelerating innovating at scale, right? So comment here, documentation produced in minutes instead of weeks, right? That, free analyst time for higher value work. So that's a common theme in these efficiency use cases that are successful use cases of AI applied in FSI. Northwestern Mutual also has successful use cases launched in the industry, right? So same idea of internal efficiency at this point, that allowed the company to realize faster response times, to improve support engineer productivity, right? Automate repetitive tasks, in the end, enabling greater operational efficiency, right? And building a foundation for developing more business applications. So the idea, right, internal operational efficiency at scale, free up time, take it back, and drives further innovation. But we are here to dive deep into this specific use case, right? Let's look at, the critical claims function that many of you have to build around or to tackle with, right? So today, we are seeing systems that can be time consuming, right? That can be fraught with fraud, right? And of course, they have high operational costs. The idea today is to showcase ideas and demonstrate a turnkey solution that can help you benefit in many ways. Like for instance, zero touch claims where possible, right? We know how to automate classification. We know how to rank and stack. We have models for that, right? And what if more of these claims could be zero touch, right? The degree of automation could be very positive. Automating, first notice of loss where possible as well. That's another way that we can, apply artificial intelligence to analyze damage, calculate payout. And then, of course, get smart and reduce risks with fraudulent claims, right? We are seeing more attempts to fraud the system, but actually AI can help increase accuracy in these cases. And in the end, use automation to reduce claims adjustments and accelerate customer satisfaction with all this intelligence, right? So that's the promise. That's what we're going to tackle today. And before we begin and dive deep, I want to invite Sridhar and the Trianz team to introduce themselves and the work they have been doing in the industry already. All right, take it on.
Sure. Thank you, Gaza. Hope you are able to see the presentation.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Sure. As I introduce Trianz, I would like to know, introduce Trianz as a company, as a services, as a software company. Why am I saying that? This is what we are working on. What we propose to do is, as you try to achieve your AI transformation, that requires, leveraging the power of cloud and having the applications that are modern and able to utilize AI capabilities and the agentic AI applications, building out the agentic AI applications. And beyond this, paramount, you need the data. Access the data across all of your different landscapes and transform them to utilize your AI. So this is driving this heavily through the platform. Minimizing the manual effort getting there is something part of our motto, revolutionizing transformations. Right. Now, how do we do that? Today, while you look at the one of the use cases and some examples of how we what business outcome that we were able to achieve, that was driven through the platform Concierto, but that would help your applications, data, and workloads to get to cloud, right? That's again the capability to migrate to cloud. Then modernize your applications, right? Your legacy insurance industry is known to have a lot of legacy applications. How do you modernize them in such a way that they can operate on cloud, as well as utilize the new powers of AI and the agentic AI to deliver the kind of business transformation results that you can do? And Concierto also provides insights and AI capability, and that is essentially ability to access your data sitting in various data sources, and then on getting them onto cloud if needed, and utilizing the data to make sure that your AI solutions provide the relevant business outcomes for your business and end users. Right. Manage and maximize is all about operating on cloud operations, and FinOps. And today, specifically from the AI transformation, the migrate, modernize, and insights and AI would be the more relevant ones. You would have heard about a lot of tools in the market. So as we talk about a robust platform, want to call out that this entire platform is built on very robust engineering capability. and with which we built many of the connectors which were acquired by AWS a few years ago. And that shows the strength of underlying engineering that goes into our products, and that how the strength of data and accessing data from anywhere, right? Bringing data to cloud and then utilizing it for AI comes up. And even today, we continue to build the connectors, first-party, third-party connectors to various, the tooling available, market tooling available from the AWS cloud. And very briefly, Gaza talked about the global Nova AI award that Trianz had won. That is something that we will deep dive in terms of the use case that Yassine from my team will be talking about. So we do bring a lot of capability around the AWS cloud, around the migration modernization. These badges demonstrate that capability, and these capabilities all built into and brought to deliver through the platform. And the very important recent update is that AWS has selected Concierto to integrate Agent Core and build Concierto to be an agentic AI platform, right? While you are driving your transformation towards adapting and delivering AI-based business transformation, that platform that does will also be utilizing that AI, and that's something is something to be expected, readily available with the Agent Core integration later in second quarter of this year. Right. Now, why are we talking about this platform? Right, as you get into initiate your AI transformation journey, it is very important that you consider your infrastructure capabilities or cloud capabilities needed, your application portfolio, and the data and database layer. And now this is using Concierto, you are able to look at your assets, identify what needs to be migrated to cloud and modernized on cloud, and then utilizing that to deliver your AI capabilities, right? And also drive those operations, including the AI ops, right? So that all those across 3 layers, across entire lifecycle, is driven in a highly automated fashion, and it helps you operate on AWS. In many of the insurance clients, especially in Europe as well as Asia Pacific, need outposts. So this is a capability that can be built using AWS regions as well as outposts. And very a quick overview of some of these capabilities, deep diving into migrate. This is a capability that in any of the sources and a number of different applications, databases, and applications can be used, migrated to AWS and AWS Outposts as a starting step to get your infrastructure onto the cloud. And second, the number of your applications need modernization, right? Legacy applications are not the most suitable in, if you are looking at, the AI transformation. So how do you transform, right? Assessing your applications and databases, determining what should be the pathway, right? There are, AWS recommends 7 different pathways for modernization, which path that application should take, and executing modernization in a heavily automated fashion, right? Anywhere from 70 to 80% automated transformation execution, and including database modernization and helping you build the testing capabilities, where many legacy applications in insurance industry do not have the documentation. Many cases, the applications do not even have the SMEs who built it. So utilizing an automated and AI-based capability to understand your application and test the functionality as you move into your, the modern state. So all of that is possible with your Concierto Modernize. And Insights and the Agentic AI delivers federated data connectivity across. Even while your data is moving to cloud, you still have some data left on-prem, some on cloud, connecting all of that, building data products and converting ability to build agentic marketplaces and building AI capabilities, right? So all of this is possible with Migrate, Modernize, Insights, and the Agentic AI modules. And So with these capabilities, right, what we were able to do is work with a number of, the Fortune 100 insurance clients and other financial services clients in terms of, building across value streams, right? Claims, underwriting, annuities, like fraud, customer experience and analytics, and then building AI capabilities and delivering based on a platform-led approach. And this is one example of that Yassine would be walking us through to how you can leverage the platform, the power of the AWS AI capabilities together to drive your AI transformation. With that, Yassine, we'll invite you to continue from here.
Yeah, I think Deepak, would you go with your section, please?
Yep. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you and see the screen, Deepak.
Okay,
So
perfect.
thank you for your section. Let's dive deep into the tools to build AI. Let's go, Deepak.
Yeah. Gaza and Sridhar, thanks so much for setting the context about the business value agents and Gen AI is going to bring the insurance claim service. But let's dive deep to the next level of what does agentic AI means to, so that we all have the similar understanding and starting point. We have already seen over the last 2 to 3 years, the evolution of agentic AI. When we started, it was all about chat assistant 3 years ago. Today, I barely have a conversation with a customer that is about AI, doesn't include agentic AI. Every conversation is agentic AI conversation today. And it's evolving and continue to getting towards a trend of where multi-agentic AI patterns are being deployed into production at scale. And that's where it's heading towards. So let's set a simple concept, right? Just make sure we all understand what are AI agents, and we have a similar understanding. They are autonomous or semi-autonomous systems that can be reason, plan, and act together, all by themselves without requiring much of human guidance or injections. So to do that, what do agents need? We just talked about they need to reason and plan. So they need to have capability to be able to plan, reflect, and think through the process. But to do that right, they really need to have a right set of context. And that context is given or provided to these agents via memory. And agents do take actions. To take actions, they really need to have access to the tools. So agents have a brain for reason and plan, memory for right set of context, and tool for taking an actions, right? That sets up what does agentic AI looks like from, and then let's go next into what AWS services can help you for building your agentic AI. So what we see when working with our customers, there are 4 emerging patterns that we see customers using agentic AI and Gen AI more so. Improving workplace productivity. I think we all do that today, right? For example, today, when it comes to learning from videos, I rarely go watch videos for 1 hour. I'll take the video transcript, summarize it, get a 1 to 2 page summary, and spend 15 minutes to learn what that video really was about. Software development this is one of the most widely used use cases, right? We all are using some sort of a tool that helps us with software development lifecycle. We are even talking about AI development lifecycles or delivery lifecycle. Automating business workflows is where a lot of customers are putting their thoughts into to build agentic AI flows that can help them automate their own business. Bring agentic AI into their own enterprise. And then the next frontier is about making everything agentic, where you have hundreds and thousands of agents collaborating, working together with very little oversight from humans. So today our focus will be one of these boxes that we'll focus on. To build a custom agent, what do you really need? You want an agentic AI framework. You want agentic AI platform. You want to have access to models that can be suitable for specific workloads that you're trying to, and you want to do it securely and safeguard your application. So for next 15 minutes or so, I'll do a fast walkthrough of the AWS services that will help you progress and scale agentic AI implementations into productions. Starting with Amazon Bedrock. So purpose of Amazon Bedrock is a platform that can really help you build Gen AI applications at scale and provides you all the tools and capabilities you need. If you're looking for a model of your choice, in Bedrock, you can find hundreds of models that you can align it to the workload that you're trying to use. Some of those models out of the box may not meet your needs, so you may need to define and customize those models or fine-tune them. When you're building these applications, you want to make sure that they are safe and secure for your users. So to safeguard them, Bedrock will provide you Bedrock guardrails. So you do have capabilities within the Bedrock that really helps you build your Gen AI, agentic AI applications at scale with enterprise-grade security and monitoring. So once you have a Gen AI platform to build agentic AI, oftentimes you would see there are agentic AI frameworks needed to build the agents. And there are so many of them out today. I'm sure you're using agentic AI frameworks such as LangChain, LangGraph, CrewAI, OpenAI. There are several of those. Trianz agent is one such agentic AI framework that will help you build agents. Important distinction here is Trianz agent allows you to build your agentic agents with simplified code. Sorry about that. With simplified code. So you really need 3 to 5 lines of code to build an agent. All you need is a model. All you need is a tool and a prompt that what do you really want that agent to do? You can choose any models. You can take models that's available on Bedrock. You can select OpenAI model. You can select models that's available on Databricks. It's very open in that sense, like you can bring your choice of models that you believe are going to work for your use cases. And it supports frameworks, open source protocols, A2A, MCP. All those protocols supported gives you a framework that you can use to build agents quick and fast, and then essentially monitor it using the OpenTelemetry standards as well. Why that monitoring is important? Because you can't really trust your AI agents if you can monitor their decision-making process, if you can monitor, are they selecting the right tool? If you can monitor if the responses they are providing are the helpful responses for your customers. So that's why you really need to have tracing information, logging, and monitoring for these. Right. And so before I go, to the next level of agentic AI platform, I really wanted to ask a question for you guys, and you can tell me here, is many of you may have deployed a use case or two in production for agentic AI. Can you share some of the challenges you faced when you deployed that into production? I'm going to have a quick look at the chat window if you're trying to respond. Yeah, memory. That's good. What else? What else? If you have deployed a agentic AI use case in production, what were like 1 or 2 challenges that you really needed to solve before scaling it in production? Governance, security, scale, right? So Those are really important things. It's one thing to produce or build an agent, do a POC, and really like it. But when you take it to production, you need to address many more challenges, right? One of them, security. Yes, Ranjit, security is definitely one of them. So when you're trying to deploy it in production, you want to make sure that your agent is accessible and scalable to the scale of your customer base. You may have 10 customer, 100 customer, hundreds of thousands of customers. Can it scale? When you're building agents, you want to make sure that are you able to bring all the tools to that agent that you feel are required to take the actions. You want to be able to do it securely. You want to be able to put a governance structure together to monitor your agents, and it's a decision-making process. So Amazon Bedrock Agent Core is a platform that does all these for you in a managed way. So you're not required to build any of these on your own. These are available as managed capabilities for you. All you need to focus on is, what's the business function of this agent? What tool does it need? And then let's go build and deploy in production at scale. So how does Agent Core do all this? Right? How does Agent Core do all this? So what Agent Core has is what we call primitives, right? Primitives are building block that can work together, but also you can use them individually. So these are very composable block. For example, if you want to deploy an agent to, say, hundreds and thousands of customers, so you want that agent to be scalable, you can use runtime, agent code runtime, to deploy that agent. Now, it's rarely an agent is going to give you a really good response to you if it doesn't have the right context. And the context comes from your user prompt, the system prompt you gave it to agent, but also comes back, who is your agent talking to? Your customer. And though that context about your customer is available in a memory. So Agent Core does provide you built-in memory capabilities that you can just configure and use it. That's another composable building block. So you can choose to use a memory, or you can choose to use runtime as a compute, or just one of the two, or both. Now, you've been building APIs and the services and applications for years and years. Now, for agentic AI applications, if you want to reuse those APIs, those functions, you don't have to go rebuild those. You can bring them as a tool for your agentic AI applications using what we call Agent Core Gateway. It will make those APIs and functions MCP compliant, and then make those tools available to your agent to be used by the agent in production at runtime, based on the context and based on the user prompt is provided to the agent. So that's another primitive or building block that your agentic application needs it. You want to do all these securely, because when your customer or user interacts with your agent, you want to make sure that that customer or user has been authorized to talk to the agent, right? And when that agent, executes a tool or function or access a database or access a SharePoint, you want to make sure that user's permission are delegated to agent, so that agent can use the relevant permissions to perform that task. All that propagation of your security, access permissions, validations need to be done, and that you can do using custom code or using Agent Core Identity as a building block for you. So all these building blocks can be used together or one at a time, or in any combination. And best thing, Agent Core is open source, so you can bring any agentic AI framework. Say, for example, if you're building agents using LangChain, you can deploy it on the Agent Core platform. If you're building agentic AI applications using Crew AI, you can deploy it on Agent Core platform. So it's very open source, supports all kind of models, supports all kind of agentic AI framework and protocols. All right. So far we just talked about the platforms, right? Bedrock is a platform, Agent Core is a platform, agentic AI framework for Trianz, but you also need to have access to models that align to your use cases. So Amazon Nova is a family of models that provides you choice of models for understanding model, multimodal models such as Canvas and Reel, speech-to-speech models such as Sonic. It also gives you multimodal embedding options to generate your embeddings for the knowledge bases. Right. So let's quickly look at some of these models. Nova 2 Lite. Nova 2 Lite is for your everyday use case. If you want to do document processing, Nova 2 Lite is your go-to model. If you want to do entity extraction from that document, Nova 2 Lite is the way to go. If you want to do tool calling, you want to use Nova 2 Lite. Why? Because it's fast and it's cost effective. However, if your use case is a bit more complex, it requires a lot more reasoning, you want to select Nova 2 Pro. If your use case is, oh, my inputs are multimodal, it could be text, it could be images, it could be video, and then my output needs to be multimodal as well, then Nova 2 Omni model, which is in preview, we just launched that in this year's reInvent, is your choice. So if you want to try it out to see as a unified model for multimodal use cases for both input and output, you can use Nova Omni. And then Nova 2 Sonic was also is generally available, launched in this reInvent. This is for your speech-to-speech use cases. And let's talk about Nova 2 Sonic in a few minutes. So I want to go a level deep into Amazon Nova 2 Lite, right? So as I mentioned, it's fast, it's cost effective, and your inputs could be text, images, videos, document. So if your use cases are document processing, instruction following, chat bots using knowledge bases, Amazon Nova 2 Lite is the go-to model you want to use it. The other benefits of using Amazon Nova 2 Lite is as a developer, you have a bit more control. There are knobs that can help you switch on its extended thinking mode. What does that matter? If you have a use case where you want extended reasoning process to happen before the responses are delivered to users, you can tweak that using these knobs and levers. So that will help you improve the accuracy. But then you need to consider the use cases where you probably don't need it. And then without using that extended reasoning, your response will be faster with lower latency and much lower cost. So you do get a freedom to fine-tune the usage of this model based on your use case. Other important thing to consider about Nova 2 Lite, it comes with 2 pre-built tools. Web grounding is one of the important one if you haven't heard before. Like, all the models are trained with general knowledge and they have that knowledge point in time. But what happens, if the model was trained with the general knowledge 6 months ago and you ask a question about today, it will hallucinate. It will not be able to answer that question correctly. So with web grounding, you provide that as an internet knowledge base as a tool to using Nova 2 Lite. So this becomes as a tool, and then your model now has access to near real time public knowledge that's out there. And it's available as a tool, so the entire traffic that conversation happens with this tool stays private within the AWS network so that your prompts, your information does not go onto public network, public internet when you try to ask questions using web searching tools, right? So that's a big benefit. You can have a public knowledge available to your model near real time, securely, and everything stays within your enterprise box. And the code interpreter is a tool if you wanted to execute a code in a sandbox environment. As I mentioned, Nova 2 is faster and cheaper, so you can see it's much faster than Nova 1 Premier model, and also it's less costly than the Nova 1 Premier model. When it comes to performance, the two of the key use cases I was mentioning, instruction following and information extraction from your document, Nova 2 Lite, performs well among its peers. You can see for information extraction on the right-hand side, it's better than its peers when it comes to performance, right? And it's second best when it comes to instruction following, such as you want to have a tool calling or user instructions to be followed for chat assistant applications. So you really want to consider Nova 2 Lite for your everyday use cases. Now, quickly, I wanted to bring up with Amazon Nova Act, which is a service. So, every day we interact with websites, web pages. When I need to search something, I go on a website. When I have to make a booking, I go on a website. When I do a shopping, I go on a website. When we have to submit anything, we go fill a form on a website. So we spend a lot of time interacting with a browser. Nova Act is a service that allows you to build agentic AI workflow using browsers, interacting with the browsers, performing and taking actions within the browsers. So it's just not a model, it's an entire service. So it has a model, it has an orchestrator, and everything else that's needed to give you a service so that you can build your business logic using that service. It's available as a SDK. You can, add it to your IDE as an extension. And it has access. It also allows you to bring human in the loop when you're using Amazon Nova Act. So let's just see a quick demo of Amazon Nova Act here, where you have ability to, what we're trying to show you here is you have an image, an expense receipt image, and you're creating an expense report using that image, and Nova Act will not only do that for you, but will also ask you as human in the loop, hey, review it before I can submit it. So let's just do a quick walk. Right, create an expense, I upload my image, and I ask it to do that, and then it will take that image, create the expense receipt for me. And once that it does, then it will ask you to review. And as a human reviewer, you will go ahead, review the information that it just created for you, and then you can certify and submit. So that's an inbuilt capability within Nova Act where you can escalate important acts to humans for review validation to minimize that risk. Okay, so the next one I wanted to talk about is Amazon Nova 2 Sonic. This is a model that's customers are using to modernize their customer support application. So if you are thinking about need to modernize, where customer support can use a natural language speech to interact with your customer, consider Amazon Nova 2 Sonic. Right? It's real time. It's bidirectional. What does that mean? It's conversational. So your users can interact with Nova Sonic as part of your service embedded within your applications in a conversational fashion. They can interject like a human, and Nova Sonic will take actions by accessing the tools you have given and provide responses to your customers. So it's real time, I've already mentioned. It's available in 7 languages and 16 different voices. I will demo quickly what do I mean by these, so many languages or the interruptions. You will be able to interrupt Novasonic and it will wait for your next prompt and then response accordingly. And it supports async tool calling. What does that mean? Is when you give a task to Novasonic, it will take that task and continue to work in the background while your customers can continue to chat. So let's look at some of those demos here. And before I go, a quick idea about the performance of Novasonic among its peers. So you can see it's outperforming its peers, right? When it comes to speech understanding, which means it's like out of 100 words that's spoken, it has a probability of only 6 words where it can or may make an error, right? So 94% of the time, it's gonna understand it correctly and then respond it correctly. And it's speech reasoning also, it's outperforming its peers. Okay, so before I go with the demo, I want you to focus on this on 2 parts. On the left-hand side, you will see the actual speech conversation with Sonic. And on the right-hand side, you will see what we call JSON events. These, as a builders, you want to pay close attention to these JSON events because these JSON events allow Novasonic to be able to real-time conversational with your users. So they help you indicate Novasonic to understand when did a session start, when did a prompt start, or what is a user prompt versus what is a system prompt, what are the tool information that it needs to process. All those informations is indicated to Novasonic via these JSON events. So it really enables it for maintaining that conversation lifecycle between your user and Novasonic. So let's start with this. Hello, how are you today?
Hello, I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. How can I help you today?
What is weather in Chicago?
Hold on 1 second while I find the weather information for you. The weather in Chicago is currently partly cloudy with a temperature of about 52 degrees Fahrenheit. The wind is blowing at around 8 miles per hour.
New York City?
Hold on 1 second while I find the weather information for you. The weather in New York City is also partly cloudy with a temperature of about 52 degrees Fahrenheit. Similar to Chicago, there's a wind speed of around 8 miles per hour and humidity at 68%.
So if you noticed here, when it was responding to weather for Chicago, I interrupted and asked for New York City. Noah immediately interrupted the response and actioned on the next prompt that you send it its way, right? That's important to understand because in a natural human conversations, we interrupt. We want to make sure that that's responded in real time by Novasonic. And then the second thing, as a developer, you might say, well, there are 2 types of responses, speculative versus final. So what Novasonic is doing is, as a developer, it's giving you opportunity to stream text as well while it's preparing the speech response. So though as you didn't see any delay, as a developer, you can choose to only display the speculative response coming from it. That will be your text generation to your users. And then you can have Novasonic generate that audio as well. And on the right-hand side, you can see all these JSON events going. So let's look at one of these tool JSON events as we, how it determines what tool to use and what was the tool response look like, right? So as part of the JSON events, it shows you which tool was used, what was the response received, so that you can see what was the response generated. And then the same response will be...
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Oh, interesting.
Hola, estoy bien. Gracias por preguntar. ¿En qué puedo ayudarte hoy?
So as you can see here, right, I was speaking English and then suddenly I switched to Spanish, and Novasonic is able to recognize the language your users are talking and respond in that language. How does happen, or how can you change it? Let's see that. So you can change settings. You have 7 different languages, 16 different voices. You can change the settings. You have options for how sensitive do you want Sonic to respond, how fast, how slow. And then you have a tool selection options. You have a system prompt. You can set all these things for Novasonic as you build your
What is weather in New York?
Hold on 1 second while I find the weather information for you.
So in this one, what I really want you to focus on is what I will do. I'll give a task to Novasonic, and the task will require a tool to be executed. While Novasonic is executing that tool, I will converse with it in parallel.
What day is today?
Today is Wednesday, February 4th, 2026. The weather in New York is partly cloudy with a temperature of around 52 degrees Fahrenheit. The wind is blowing at about 8 miles per hour from the northwest, and the humidity is at 68%.
Right. So as you can see, it responded to my what day is today, but once it finished that conversation, it already has the response for the tool that, finds the weather for you, and then brought that back as part of the response without prompting it again. So it gives you a very natural way to interact and make it part of your services and applications that you have it. Novasonic, right now I just showed you a few tools, but Novasonic, you can integrate with MCP servers. Novasonic, you can integrate with Agent Core platform. Novasonic, you can integrate with Amazon Connect, as well as various telephony services such as Twilio, right? So what is the next step for you? If you want to play with Novasonic, I have here 2 QR codes. One of them is on the left-hand side, Novasonic 2 workshop link. The demo that I just showed you was built using the workshop code. So if you want to play along, you can use the code from there. On the right-hand side, there are a number of GitHub samples for variety of Nova-related use case. It could be Novasonic, could be different models. Feel free to experiment and play with these use cases. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Yasin to dive deep into insurance claims use case. And Yasin, take it over.
But thank you. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. And thanks, Deepak, Sridhar, and Gaza for setting a good base for my section. Let me quickly share the deck and let me know if you're able to see it.
It's coming up, and we can see the full screen now, the presentation. Perfect.
Thank you. So as for the topic of the webinar, so it's about reimagining claims process with agentic AI. So this is the solution that has won Nova AI award from AWS a few months back. So now coming to the Trianz catalog of solutions. So Trianz provides services to multiple industries across different verticals, and out of all the solutions we have, claims processing is one of the many solutions that we have, which leverages agentic AI on AWS cloud using the AI services of AWS, importantly, Nova models and Agent Core. So now, before we jump into the agentic version of the solution, we will look at the traditional claim processing solution, especially in the context of vehicle insurance. So traditionally, I think typically the process goes through a few steps. This is a bit of simplified version. It can be a little different for different insurers, but the way it goes is it has typically 4 phases if we hypothetically divide it. So first phase is when you have a policyholder calling the insurer to notify the incident, which is typically called first notification of loss. And at that point, there is a good amount of exchange that happens between the policyholder and the insurer. And then the insurer assigns an adjuster. And the phase two starts where there is a lot of validation that goes through on the documents. Policy is validated, the documents given by the policyholder are validated. There's a cross-checking that happens across the documents. And then the damage is assessed based on the photos. And there is a physical examination of the vehicle that's offline. And then there are a series of rule-based fraud checks or different systems that come into play to ensure that the claim is not fraudulent. Now, in phase three, once everything is satisfactory or there are any issues with the claim, the outcome is given as either approved or rejected to the policyholder. Now, in the final stage, which is a feedback stage, the closure of documents happen and a feedback is collected from the policyholder. Now, typically this process, which is a multi-step process, is mostly handled by human beings. It's a manual process. It may be partially automated in some insurer organizations, but mostly the multi-step process is handled manually. Now, with this, what happens is the manual aspect of it brings in a lot of challenges, which makes the process slower. It takes longer lead time to close the claims, and the outcomes of the claim can be inconsistent because human beings assess the things differently. And this can lead to poor customer satisfaction and audit and compliance issues, all these mounting up to higher costs for the insurers. Now, if we reimagine, in fact, or rewrite this process using agentic AI, so what we see here is a demonstration, a typical representation of what steps can be taken by agentic AI. The green ones marked in can be efficiently taken over by AI with the current stack, and as Deepak has demonstrated, the green ones can be a good candidate for agentic AI-driven steps, and the blue ones are where AI can do its work, but provide the context to the user, be an assistant to the human beings, and it can be a hybrid step. And red ones are supposed to be done by human beings. And one of them is the review of the decision made by AI. So if you look at the end-to-end process, what we see here is the most of the steps that are currently dealt in the process can be automated using AI. So if I move to the solutioning part of it, how we realize this solution in agentic AI, there are two big components of AWS that comes into picture to make this solution. One of them is NOVA family of models, importantly NOVA Sonic model, which is speech-to-speech model, which can interface the user and drive a human-like conversation with the end user policyholder to collect all the details, drive the conversation, and completely provide all the things that are needed as a frontline agent and drive the user to provide the needed documents. So that's one big piece of the solution. And then once the documents are provided, the agent core, which is a agent hosting service of AWS to host scalable agents in a secure way, which has all the different features like agent core gateway, agent core memory, and all that. So that all these come together to provide a backend that can run the agentic workflow, which can support all the steps we have just seen in the previous slide. So now if I...
Yassine, before progressing, can you take one step back on the very important picture about the human in the loop? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I think that's a very good point, Gaga.
There was a question in the chat over there, right? So
sure, let me quickly check that. So basically what we are saying here is while the AI can go through all the policy documents, can see what's there in the document, cross-validate the policy details and the details provided, the documents provided by the policy holder, all the cross-checking, all the validation, along with the damage photos can be assessed by AI, and a complete picture of the case can be built, given to human being to process the decision. So sorry, I'm not able to see the message here, what the
No,
question is,
perfect.
but
Was just clarifying where human in the loop, right? I think there was a question about, I think you mentioned red, but it shows orange. So just clarifying on that.
my bad, sorry about it. So yeah,
No
it's
problem. No
orange. So
problem.
yeah, so in the investigation phase, all these steps are processed by AI, and this and a very detailed um, investigation report is provided to the human being, which is then given to human being to review before it moves to the payment stage. So that's what I was referring to. If that's okay, I'll move to the next step of solutioning. So we talked about two major components of the solution that come together to build the solution. So moving on, um, I was talking about I'm going to show a video which is a demo of how the real world scenario is going to look like. Now, the demo flow is going to be where normally a human being or a policyholder comes in and goes to the insurer website, and then he goes somewhere and clicks the chatbot icon, and he starts the conversation with the chatbot backed by Novasonic in a natural language, a speech-to-speech conversation. Then the Novasonic drives the conversation with all the details for the user to provide the needed documents. Once the documents are uploaded, it triggers the agent core runtime to run the complete agentic AI workflow to process all the documents and then provide the outcome. Now, for the sake of simplicity, I have kept the human review kind of steps aside because it would be to keep it simple for the purpose of demo. Now, moving to the demo, let me start the demo.
Hey, Nova.
Hello, I'm Nova from ABC Insurance. How can I help you today?
I would like to initiate a claim for my car insurance policy.
Absolutely. I'd be glad to assist you with that. May I have your full name and policy number to get started?
My name is Alex Thompson. My policy number is PL 4567891123.
Thank you, Alex. Could you briefly describe what happened with your vehicle? This will help us understand the situation better.
The front side of the car was damaged on the road when I was driving home from work. I briefly looked down to change the music on my dashboard. In that moment, I didn't notice a tree planted near the sidewalk. I hit it head on.
I'm sorry to hear about the accident, Alex. It sounds like it was quite a shock. Do you currently have all the required documents with you?
What documents are required?
Here's the list of documents required for the claim: vehicle photos, police report, vehicle registration, policy document, identity proof, driver license, other driver license. Do you have all these documents ready?
Yes, I have all the documents.
Perfect. Here's your upload link to submit all your documents.
What we see here is Novasonic has been very empathetic, and it directed the user for all the next steps, and it has popped up a link. Now, this can be in multiple ways where the link can be sent to different digital mediums rather than popping up on the website, or there are multiple ways of doing these steps, right? So now the agent core, once the documents are uploaded, the agent core agentic workflow has triggered in, and it is taking it through the steps of validating the documents, looking at the policy, checking the fraud, assessment, approval, and all. So there can be intermediate steps where human being can do a backend approval and all in the real world case. To keep it simple, I skip that part. Now, at the end, a very friendly communication is generated for the user, which goes to the user through a different digital channel. So that's the end of the demo. Now looking at this demo, I think now I want to look at the larger architecture that enables this demo. So while Agent Core and Nova models have been two core components, all the services of AWS that come together to bring this solution to life are shown in this design, where you have a portal, you have a web application that is hosted along with the APIs on an EC2 cluster, and then you have Nova Sonic model and Agent Core running the agentic AI on top of it, right? So now beyond Agent Core, I think Deepak did mention about Agent Core Gateway and Agent Core Observability. So in our specific case, the whole agentic AI framework or the workflow is running on Agent Core runtime, but it needs the data of the policy. It needs the data of the user and probably previous policy claims and all. So in order to connect to the different data sources, or there can be some data that's lying on some API service somewhere. So all those data elements can be accessed by the agent using the Agent Core Gateway via the MCP tools. Now, while all these agents are working, there is a good amount of decisioning, there's a good amount of work that is happening inside the Agent Core runtime that needs to be transparent to the insurer. So all these agent behavior is logged and sent as traces to Agent Core Observability, which can be available for audit and making sure it is in line with the expectation. Now, all this whole design is supported by the security and governance layer, which is based on CloudWatch, CloudTrail, and other services of AWS. Moving on, I think one of the common questions that our customers ask us while we talk about the agentic AI designs and all the different AI services of AWS is about trust and security of the solutions. So as I just spoke about Agent Core Observability, the whole solution is fully traceable for all agent actions, all the agent decisions that agent is making, and complete path the agentic workflow is taking to arrive from start point to the end point of the workflow. And from the security point of view, the solution leverages all the cloud native services, cloud native security services of AWS, which includes IAM to access the different, enable access between different services. And the solution is scalable because obviously the Agent Core and Nova models are cloud native managed services of AWS, and the solution can scale to an enormous volume as needed, and the solution is highly fault tolerant, being a managed service. Now, at the end, what this brings to the insurers is the faster turnaround. It cuts down the time of human handling, handover from one human to another, and minimizing the human involvement to the minimum extent possible, cuts down the cycle time of 40 to 60%. It makes the solution so elastic that it can scale in volume surges, which is highly impossible with human staffing. The solution is always on, working 24/7, which is quite cost intensive if done in a manual operation. All this leads to customer satisfaction and cost saving. Now, this is the last slide. So if any questions or any discussion, please reach out on the contact given. We are a QR code away. Please scan it and please reach out to us. Thank you, everyone. Gaza, back to you.
Yeah, I'll leave it here for a second. Leave it here for a second because he has the QR code, right? And I just want to bring, before I take over and bring us home for the Q&A, there is an interesting conversation happening about PAI access, and I know Amit already provided some insights, right? But the question was about, how the solution helps handle with PII data in the workflow. Right. Yassine, you designed it. Do you have any comment to add on that?
Yes, definitely. So, we support a lot of insurers and banking customers. So this is one of the things most commonly asked by all our customers. How do we handle sensitive data, right? So now, for the agentic workflow, wherever there is no need of PII data that can be masked, and we can get to LLM with masked data, Or we can also have we can also have guardrails, AWS guardrail, which provide masking of the PII data as a step before we use the data. All the data stored in S3 bucket is encrypted with KMS CMK. That is one of the requirements that satisfies the PII regulatory requirement. And all the data is again encrypted during transit using the native ALB service of AWS. So it provides a strong security and governance layer with the security services that I have shown here, AWS Security Hub, AWS IAM, and KMS. So all this coming together provides a strong security around the AWS perimeter to secure the PII, PCI, or any data that is sensitive to the organization. Hope that answers the question. And Deepak, if you want to chime in.
No, I think that's good. That covers it.
Awesome. Thank you, Yassine. So let me change the direction of the conversation here, and I'll share the screen very quickly. Awesome. Oops, I'm having a hiccup sharing my screen here. Let me switch the technology. So in between, oh, I see on the chat that apparently we addressed the questions, right? But yeah, we can continue to dive deep on the topic. And of course it's an interesting one, right? Okay, let's see if it goes right now. Deepak, can you take over for sharing on slide 34? I'm having a hiccup with my WebEx app here. It's still, I know that Yassine stopped sharing, but it can't solve for that.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. No, I think I made it. Awesome.
Okay.
I think you can all see my screen right now. Cool.
Yeah, we can see it.
Sometimes you just have to threaten the platform that you're not going to use it anymore. And, these agents are learning, they're getting the memory. So I just have a few final messages here, and we're going to be able to take a pause and go into Q&A. So we, of course, we introduced Trianz today for many of you that didn't know our partner Trianz, right? And we showed how to address one critical business process in insurance, right? Well, before we move on, I want to talk about, hey, there are many more areas where we could apply AI. The second one is that while there are many opportunities, we want to be, just like this last part of the conversation, very responsible, right? To the point of being cautious about what can be automated and what needs to be supervised, right? Because we know the limits of the technology. So it's super exciting, but at the same time, it requires us to be strategic, to think about the right moment and the right step that is worth automating. And finally, the realization that not everything is going to become an AI agent. There are many things that AI agents are good for, and there are things that AI agents are not designed to be, right? In the state of technology today, of course, AI agents are never going to be deterministic. They're always going to be probabilistic and stochastic. So if you have a step that is very deterministic, right? Continue to code very deterministically that step, right? And hey, that can be a step that can be invoked using our fixed workflows or as part of a tool that a supervisor agent can decide upon to use, right? So the architecture, when I learned from Trianz about the architecture they were building, I enjoyed it a lot because you can see the many multi-agent patterns being employed. You can see the supervisory, right, using Novasonic not only as the conversational interface because it has the speech-to-speech capabilities, but also as an orchestrator that calls the other agents in the workflow. So what I want to leave here, and I left the slide on that we can talk upon it, is that it is challenging, but it is rewarding. So let's start by recognizing the challenges. The challenges is that, hey, how do I define the business value and value creation, right? It's super important, right? I need to find the problem, the bottleneck, and the impact. And we usually work with you to find and prioritize opportunities based on the business value. Is the use case viable and aligned to my data strategy, right? And adherent to my governance? That's also a very critical question, right? The first use cases with generative AI, the chatbots that we've been building, right? They didn't need a lot of, corporate system integration. Maybe a couple of knowledge bases would be enough to ground the assistant conversation, right? But now with agents, we have the power to totally interact with systems of record, right? And now the conversations about data governance, like this last piece of the demo that we are having, become critical, right? Security, table stakes, right? I think that, when we launched Agent Core last summer, right? So Agent Core is less than a year old, right? But the notion that, hey, you can very seamlessly propagate all your identity management into the agent execution and provide a mechanism for observability, right? I couldn't think about, hey, you can't launch an agent without it, right? You have to build it, you have to build for it, but what if you had it as a fully managed turnkey capability, right? When we are doing this evaluation, just like you are continuously evaluating your ML, model for rating, classification, right, risk analysis, and you want to make sure, it doesn't drift, right? An agent also needs a discipline of evaluation and measurement, right? And change management as a consequence. I have, had conversations with some organizations that are now deploying agents and achieving deployments at scale, and change management, the definitions, the prompts, right, the commands, and they are continuously improving because you are into the natural language scope, you are in the natural language policy definition, right? So you're always going to be finding a way that you can, drive and specify the actions that your business requires to the agent system, right? So it's also a muscle we need to work. And finally, the human challenges, right, about skills gaps and adoption. And sometimes the skills gap is not just the technical gap. So I'm following here the conversation on the chat, and I'm finding it very interesting. And I think that one hint that I get from that is a skill for technologists to be able to articulate the value for business stakeholders. For us, technologists, if you are on the technology side, to have a conversations with business security and governance boards about, hey, there are many benefits, and here is how I'm addressing all your concerns to finally increase adoption. The good news is that, like I said, the rewards are many, and when we talk about adoption, right, the use cases that I've seen, once we have a first viable and visible use case launched, is that adoption happens first organically and then at scale, right? It's a little like, take us back 10 years ago when we talked about cloud adoption, right? That the first applications you know to be built in the cloud or move to the cloud, right, they are always done in a very cautious and responsible way to be done. But once the benefits were visible, once the promises were delivered, but they were not delivered, as a hype, they were delivered as tangible value, you would see, you know, a backlog begin to build. Here is my next use case. Here is my next opportunity. And it becomes an AI adoption journey, which we can apply, the flywheel idea, the flywheel of innovation idea to help you be successful, right? Are you going to have an AI center of excellence, like many of you had a cloud center of excellence? Yes, when scale comes, right, we have strategies and we have proven success, right, that are being applied in many organizations, many of those that we shared, stories and logos right in the beginning, but they usually start, right, kickstarting that flywheel of innovation for AI adoption with a use case that has been prioritized, that has been selected because it's viable and visible, right? That has gone through the filters of viability through data and technology, through the security and compliance filters, through the responsible AI considerations filters, until the proof of value got into the decision point to launch. Once it launches, right, and it's tuned for production using tools that can make scale seamless for this first use case, let's realize the business value and repeat. And the first turn of the wheel may be a little slow and cranky, but the second one, it gets oily and goes faster and faster. And that's the flywheel of the exercise, right? To help you along the way, right? AWS has specialists, has a team that is available to work with our customers, our organizations, and look for opportunities to innovate together. And of course, we have partners, right? You saw the work that Trianz did, and Trianz has been doing work in other insurance companies and in other financial services organizations, applying AI with responsibility to take them to production grade. That was my, final message. There's no shortcut for experience. We learn better by doing, right? So first, when it comes to learn better by doing, help us understand if this time, was valuable for you. Use the QR code here, right, to respond to our survey. I'm also going to email you the link after, right? But we need to know if it was important and what you take away, right? And, let's continue the conversation. Let us know if you'd like Trianz in AWS to follow up with you through the survey so we can continue that. Yassine, Sridhar, Deepak, do you want to come to camera and share a few final messages? We can also pause here and see if there are further questions from the audience.
Yeah,
again, yeah.
Thanks for sharing the survey. One thing I would like audience to share with us is, we share with you use cases, architecture. If you want to dive deep more into one of these topics, just express that so that when we bring these webinars next time, we bring that for you based on your need and your requirement. So don't hesitate putting out your recommendations, your suggestions, as that will not be, acted upon. We act upon all those suggestions and recommendations.
I have a comment here on the chat that even AWS has cultural challenges. Every organization has. Every organization has. Right? It's fostering a culture of innovation is very challenging. And yes, you got to be willing to, break some dogmas or challenge some dogmas, right? There is some interesting conversations that we can have probably in a smaller and more interactive setting that we can talk about cultural challenges. We have an entire team of experts in cultural transformation to bring and help you. Sridhar, Yassine, on that point, any experience from Trianz as well? Because you've been on the field a lot with us.
No, thank you, because I was going to say that, right? This is something that we have seen, right? Some of the use cases that we implemented, we showcased as part of the competition as well, or in the highly regulated insurance industry. And those are some of the use cases that have gone into production and performing well as well. And while doing that, we have seen some of these culture challenges and the issues with believing whether this is possible or not. So those are something that we have worked with those clients in terms of establishing a process, scaling AI adoption, and taking into production. So we are happy to work with you offline, share more, best practices, knowledge, and help you go through the process successfully as well.
Perfect.
Just the last word, so I think the concern is valid for most of the people that are regulatory concerns and PII data and all that. All it takes is a healthy conversation and collaborative discussion with partners and AWS, and I'm pretty sure it would be helpful in bringing the confidence in the people. So let's take the first step and let's go from there. So that's all I would say.
Awesome. Sridhar, can you look at the chat and drop your contact over there? Yes. Ranjit posted meanwhile, Ranjit left an interesting question here about post-implementation challenges for agentic AI implementations. Yassine, Deepak, from a technical perspective, would you like to add something?
Yeah, governance and monitoring. You can't really trust agentic AI application until you have a governance in place. You can monitor it in real time. You can really evaluate. Just because you tested and evaluated your agentic AI application in January doesn't mean it's going to behave exactly same way in February or even very next day. So that real-time monitoring is very important. Evaluating the performance of your agentic AI application in real time is very important. So very different than, we have always talked about governance and we have talked about monitoring, but it has a very different lens when it comes to agentic AI applications.
Fantastic. We may have time for another question. I want to honor the slot for everyone. And meanwhile, I will, follow up. I'll upload the presentation. I'll upload the recording, and I will share these resources with you so you can follow up. Yes. Oh, one last question. Feedback loops with Amazon Nova.
What does that mean?
Divya, can you clarify?
Let us know, what do you mean by feedback loop with Amazon Nova?
Yeah. The agents will implement an agentic loop, right? And they have the LLM as their brain. And you can build agents using Nova 2 like models as we described, and other Nova models like Nova Premier, right? So, it's going to be part of the agentic architecture. Let us know if we answer your question, Divya.
Yeah, in the agentic concept, your agentic AI framework will reflect upon the decision taken irrespective of the model you're selecting. And Nova models, yes, you can use it for agentic AI workload, like Yasin just demonstrated using Nova models. That application was built.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good comment here, right? So, software engineers, should they use AWS pre-built services, right? I will say that it's the build to buy dilemma. And I'll tell the story because it's a public story of a financial services organization. They're not in the insurance business. They are Clearwater Analytics. Now they go by a C1. They had hundreds of AI agents deployed already. They built it from the ground up using agentic frameworks. They used Amazon Bedrock for LLMs and in serverless compute, right? But they decided to move to Agent Core as a fully managed tool because as they scale, they realized that they were consuming time and resources building things like agentic memory for keeping context, things like agentic observability because they needed to maintain full visibility of what's going on. So it's a benefit and it can be an accelerator for innovation, but AWS is completely open. We have customers that use entirely, homegrown frameworks, and they have the engineering scalability and resources to invest on it. And if they feel that they take differentiation from that, we will be, of course, open to support them. The,
I would
the
just
answer
add to what
about,
you said.
yeah. No, sorry, Yasin. I just want to make sure we touch another question from Divya about what goes wrong, right? So a super powerful capability of our platform is, turnkey evaluations that is going to help you understand what's wrong, right? Because wrong can be a lot of things in a AI agent in a probabilistic environment, right? The usefulness of an answer, for instance, right? The answer is not wrong, but it's not useful, and you need to have this understanding of the meaning, this semantic understanding, and we built this kind of uh, turnkey experience to evaluate agentic responses for you. I want to honor the slot, and I'm super happy about the conversation that is happening here. If you want to continue that conversation, use the survey to reach out to us, right? Use the survey to connect with us. Trianz, thank you very much for joining us here, and will bring us home.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Gaza. Thank you, Deepak, for hosting this webinar. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome.
Thank you.